my obedience could literally save someone else's life. So I was that person that was in the position where I was so ready to leave this earth. Actually went to a retreat. For me, it was a retreat. For someone else, it may be a book or a show or something, who knows? But for me, it was a retreat. And I went to this retreat thinking, when I leave this retreat, I'm checking out, I'm done. And so I had just had enough of everything. And I went to this retreat and just experienced this powerful move of God from a lady who had a difficult time getting the retreat set up. She was under attack left and right, and she persisted and was obedient and still showed up. And because of her, I can say, like, I'm still alive. I don't know that I would have made it past that point if she hadn't have been obedient.
Welcome to the Speak Up Against Stigma podcast, where we talk about everything mental health. Welcome, Vitelle. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
So I want to ask you a question. Why do you speak up against mental health stigma?
That's my background is in trauma healing. I have been through a lot of traumas in my life. One of the things that I'm known for, aside from being an actress and entertainer, is that I use my own traumatic experiences to help other people to heal through the arts. So it is very important to me as someone who has overcome depression, suicidal ideation, many other things that led up to that point. But mental health is so important. And I'm so glad that, especially since the pandemic, more people are starting to bring awareness and attention to this issue. So yeah, it's just important to me that more people heal. It's all about healing for me, but it makes it a lot easier for people to heal when more people understand that healing is necessary. So that's what my mission is in life.
I was so depressed that I burned my house down with me in it, trying to die. And I was arrested and I went to jail for 30 days. During the course of that 30 days, a guard offered me a pen and paper. And I began to write, similar to the way that you perform, right? Writing became a vehicle for me of healing. And I used my platform to not only tell my story, but other people's story so that we all can heal, because I believe that we heal through stories. And it's stories that really connect us to allow us to feel less alone in our journey. I know for me personally, when I was going through what I was going through, I felt like no one could identify with my pain, with my struggle, with the things that I was going through. And so I kept it to myself. And I did a lot of the heavy lifting alone. And I just believe that people don't have to be alone today. They
Exactly.
have the support, they have stories, they have community, they are much more mental health advocacy work that's being taken place today than it was years ago. And I'm happy for that. So tell me a little bit about your story. Like you said that you had experience with depression and suicidal ideation. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I don't really know how far back mine goes. I definitely look at it as a generational thing that I'm working to break generational curses. But I remember as a teenager, just like cutting myself and things like that, just going through all of the traumas that I was experiencing and not knowing how to process them. And like you said, having to process them alone, not knowing, what to do with that. I experienced childhood neglect and just sexual traumas and abuses and all of those things. I even experienced human trafficking and homelessness. So those are just a few of the traumas that I've gone through. So I actually went to a couple of different facilities. From being a teenager, I was in a facility, and that was the first time I was exposed to the different terminologies for things, understanding that these things are real and I'm not the only one dealing with them. And that was my first time really learning and growing in that area. And then ever since then have been through counselors and therapists and all of the things to just really focus on my own healing journey. Like you said, the writing part aspect of it. I have a book, I Am Poetic Ensemble, that I published, and it's a book of poetry, but it's also a compilation of my journal entries over time that I was using to help myself to heal and cope and things like that. So it was being in one of those facilities that was helping with my mental health that taught me to communicate this through writing. And so that's where I was probably first introduced to that. And then using my acting skills, which I've been in acting most of my life, I just learned to combine the two and present it in a way that it's more understandable, that it's entertaining, even though it's hard to discuss these topics in an entertaining way. I managed to do that. And so it's definitely a gift that I operate in. People ask all the time questions about how do you heal, and as if I've arrived at this healing place already. And I always explain to people that healing is really a journey, not a destination. We have to really go through that process and allow ourselves to heal. I feel like my level of healing gets better and better all the time. And as soon as you think you're healed, then it's, oh, there's more healing that I can do. And to look at it like that, like there's more healing that I can do rather than there's more healing that I have to do that needs to be done, as if it's something that is like it makes it feel more like a burden when you put it that way. But when you look at it is as in, wow, I have more time to do more healing and continue to get better as I'm already doing, then it puts you in a different position. Yeah, so my journey has been throughout my whole life for as far as I can remember, and it's not done yet. For as long as I'm still here, I'm going to continue healing. And as things happen and life continues to keep lifing, I'm enjoying the healing journey, and I encourage other people to do the same.
One of the things that comes to mind as you were speaking was you said that healing is not like a one-time thing. It's something that you are constantly going to have to endure in order to have a full and healthy life. I know there are so many people out there who may be hurting right now in their journey, and they're just looking to get over this hump. But the long game is that healing is a lifelong journey and is not a one and done. It's something that you're going to continuously do throughout your life in order to be the person that you were destined to be. Now, you've taken a lot of your pain and you turned it into purpose. Tell me about what you're doing with your acting to bring forth the message that you want people to take away.
So right now I'm on a 9 city tour with a show I do called Nine Lives. It is a one-woman show, and it is based off of my book, I Am a Poetic Ensemble. So I play 9 different characters, and each of the characters breaks down a different stage in my life, a different type of trauma that I've gone through based on homelessness. One is based on domestic violence. One is on divorce. Another is on just the depression and suicidal ideation aspect of it. I have to break them down because there's been so much. And so I go from state to state and city to city performing this show, which is part movie, part live performance. It's a whole experience with vendors and organizations from the community that we bring together to really not just raise awareness for the cause itself and the importance of healing, but also the people in the cities that are already doing it. Because a lot of times we find out when we come into the cities, we do our research and we bring people together that a lot of the people who need the organizations don't know how to find them or where to find them at. So we bring them all together and present them to the people in this beautiful package that is called Nine Lives World Tour. But to be able to connect that audience with people who can continue to help them long after our show moves on to the next state, that's the most important aspect of it. The show is it's one of those that you just have to see. It is entertaining. It's got a lot of ups and downs, but I think more than anything, it's encouraging, inspiring to people to start or continue wherever they are in their healing journey part of life. And for some people, it's like ripping off a band-aid. For some people, it may bring attention to the fact that they still have some more things to heal from that they thought that they didn't realize were there. And so it affects everybody in a different way. But the most important thing is that it is making a difference and it's helping people to heal. And one of the biggest things for me with this show, I have to remind myself all the time is that my obedience could literally save someone else's life. So I was that person that was in the position where I was so ready to leave this earth. Actually went to a retreat. For me, it was a retreat. For someone else, it may be a book or a show or something, who knows? But for me, it was a retreat. And I went to this retreat thinking, when I leave this retreat, I'm checking out, I'm done. And so I just had enough of everything. And I went to this retreat and just experienced this powerful move of God from a lady who had a difficult time getting the retreat set up. She was under attack left and right, and she persisted and was obedient and still showed up. And because of her, I can say, like, I'm still alive. I don't know that I would have made it past that point if she hadn't have been obedient. So when I'm doing this show and I'm dealing with all kinds of things and under attack left and right, I think about her and I think about how I was in that position and someone's coming to my show. I tell myself every time that someone is coming to my show who is at the end of their rope. And if I just me showing up could potentially save their life. So that's how important this show is. And that's why we've got to keep going and keep making it happen.
That's beautiful. I got goosebumps on my arms just hearing your story because we never know the impact that we can have on someone else's life. And to be obedient, it really struck a chord with me because when you're talking about this type of conversation, stigma is strong and it really can overpower you where you feel as if you don't want to tell your story, you don't want to be judged. One of the things that I say out loud is I won't rob someone else of the gift that they deserve of having my story because I believe is that impactful. I believe that God saved me from that fire that day for a time such as this to be able to be purposeful
Absolutely.
and on time for someone else to hear the message of hope because that's really what it's about. It's hope, it's inspiring other people to make better choices, not to end their life because on the other
Yeah.
side of it, life is so full and it's so enjoyable, but you just got to get to that point. Now, with everything that you have going on, how do you take care of yourself with your busy schedule, you being on the road? How do you nurture and care for yourself?
That is something that I have to be very intentional about. It took me a long time to even get to the point where I was prioritizing that and understanding the importance of it. Cause I'm one of those that when I'm mission focused and oriented, like I don't sleep, I don't eat, like I just go. And so I really have to be aware and consistent with making sure at least sleeping and eating is getting done, but then just scheduling some me time, even if that's just to go get my nails done or something. I gotta do something. And I can tell when I'm just aware of myself to know when I'm starting to experience the burnout, which happens a lot, and especially with this 6 month tour going on right now. It's a lot of burnout that takes place and I'm constantly on the go, but just learning to trust and depend on my team and delegate some tasks out so that I'm not doing as much as I'm used to doing myself and just taking those moments to rest and saying, hey, I got to shut down for a couple hours. I might not be able to take a full day off right now until this tour is done, which I'm looking forward to. But I'm going to at least take a couple hours and put on Do Not Disturb. Nobody bother me. Just give me a minute. I am planning a vacation for when this tour is done because sometimes it's just difficult to make that time. But like I said, even if it's just an hour, 2 hours in a day, because not only do I have the tour going on, I also homeschool. I have three going on 8 kids, I say, because I have three that I birthed and then eight total that my sisters birthed for me. And so they're all spread out in all different places, and I'm always wanting to micromanage and make sure everybody's good and has everything they need. And I'm just like, I'm everywhere at one time, and we are not God. We're not omnipresent as much as I want to be. I have to remember that I'm a human and I have to rest. When I lose my voice like I have right now, it's because I didn't sleep for 4 days straight. I was focused on the show. I probably slept 2 hours here and there just to sustain myself to get through those 4 days without losing it. As soon as the show is done, I gotta take this day of rest. I gotta take some rest time. I just have to recognize when I'm doing that and be like, okay, stop it, relax, rest, go eat. Even my assistant now, she'll tell me like, "Have you ate today?" Because she knows I go. I'm tunnel vision, so that is definitely a part of the journey that I'm still working on and trying to get better at.
You said a lot that resonates with me because some people may call it like a workaholic, but when
Yeah.
you're
Yep.
passionate about something, it doesn't even seem like work. And
Sure.
I am
Yeah.
the queen of do not disturb. And what I've learned lately is airplane mode on
Yes.
my
Yeah.
phone
That
because
part.
nothing comes through, nothing
Right.
whatsoever. But do not disturb, depending on how your settings are. You may get
Uh,
like an alert or something like that. It may sneak through.
right.
But with
Mhm.
airplane mode, nothing. And
Yeah.
when
Had to
I'm
take
starting to
breaks.
feel like overwhelmed, when
Yeah.
I feel like my brain needs a rest, because a
Uh-huh.
lot of what I do is mental. It takes a mental toll on me sometimes. And I find that my brain just needs to cool off. And I will take a nap. And I
Yeah.
found that to be like my number one go to stress reliever. And even if
Same.
it's just for 30 minutes. an hour or sometimes it's 2 hours. I used to feel
Yeah.
guilty about taking a nap because
Me
of all the
too.
work that has to be done, but
Yeah.
now I am in my zone and I will take
Uh-huh.
me a nap quick.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I feel guilty. If I get a full night's sleep, which for me is 5 or 6 hours compared to the 2 hours I often get, it's like I feel bad by the time I've slept 6, 7 hours or whatever. Then I wake up, oh my gosh, there's all this that still need to be done. And then I'm panicking and I'm like, I should have never slept. I knew I should have never slept. And I'm beating myself up for it. And I'm like, that struggle is real, but I have to keep reminding myself, like, okay, I can't do none of this if I'm dead. So, in order to stay alive, I gotta sleep, I gotta eat, I gotta keep reminding myself. And sometimes I'll literally have an exercise where I just stop and just look around and ask myself, if I was not here right now, if God had called me home, what would be happening different? Would everything just crumble and fall apart? Would the world stop spinning? Would anything really be affected at that point? And then my answer is always no. Like the world would keep spinning, life would go on, everything would continue. Okay, in that case, I can take a nap for 2 hours and not be here on this earth for 2 hours. So I have to coach myself through it because that's how difficult it is.
If someone is watching this now and they're having a hard time managing their mental health, because life do be lifing, right? What would you say to them to encourage them to hang on?
The thing that I said to myself throughout all of my trials and tribulations is just that storms don't last always. If you think about it, if you've ever gotten a cold, which I think we all have, you're sick in that moment. And sometimes it can get so bad where you just don't want to be here or you just would rather not deal with it at all. But you have to remember that at some point you're going to get better. At some point, the sickness is going to pass, no matter how long it may last. And it's the same with storms. It's the same with storms in our life. Rain comes and goes, and then the next day it'll be sunny. Or so just to be able to remember that and look forward to those sunny days. Sometimes when there's nothing else you can do in the midst of just one of those days, all you can do is just say, you know what, this is just one of those days. I'm going to check out for a little bit. Like you said, I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to watch Netflix or do something that has nothing to do with anything, or just go out and experience nature or something else that will relieve your stress. It's just recognizing yourself and what you need in that moment and understanding that whatever it is that's going on right now is not going to last forever. At some point, it's going to have to end because all things come to an end.
Wonderful. And tell me, where can we find you? Where can we learn more about your show?
Yes, absolutely. So I make it really easy for you guys. All you have to do is go to vitelle.net. That's Vitelle.net. When you go to vitelle.net, right there on the first page, you'll see an area where you can subscribe via email so you can keep track of what's going on. You'll also see links to all my social media profiles so you can connect with me. And if you really want to stay in touch and get discounts and coupons and casting calls and all the works, you can send me a text message at 770-626-5075 in order to connect and stay in the loop via text.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you for sharing your story. And thank you so much for showing up on the Speak Up Against Stigma podcast. We love having you today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. And please continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Have a good day.